What's going on, people? Joining me is what I like to say a generational talent, someone who album is coming out very, very soon, about maybe a month and a half away from it. But I'm very, very excited for this release. And I want you to introduce yourself to the people.
First, I'm glad to be here and I'm excited as well. My name is Sa-Roc. I am an MC, have been one for 12 years now. I am with the label Rhymesayers, and I've been creating music with my DJ producer Soul Messiah since the start, and I have something to say.
Yeah, I've been able to, get a little early access of the tape, Sharecropper Daughter, which is incredible. I mean, I've enjoyed, I think what I've enjoyed about the whole tape, and from what I've heard, and I've still got a lot to unpackage myself, is the fact that you're so open and honest, and the message of the tape kind of fits so perfectly throughout what we've gone through in 2020 as a people so far. What do you think?
Right. And absolutely, it's funny because this album has been in the works for quite some time, but it speaks to a lot of the challenges that at some points in history are not as visible, but they're still there. They're still underlying, and then they resurface. So this album is really about these points of connection between my father, the sharecropper who grew up during the Jim Crow South on a shopping farm in America, and my experience as a young Black woman growing up in the 90s, the crack era, and all of that comes along with it, and how our stories, just so different, are still symptomatic of not only this country, but global systemic racism and white supremacy, and how we have to dig through those things, because of that experience. Oftentimes we've inherited this kind of generational trauma, and we inherit a lot of this weight. We come to the world with this weight, this heaviness. And, while other people are inheriting trust funds and baubles and things of worth, we have to kind of sort through that baggage and pull the treasures out of the baggage that we've been bestowed with. Yeah. And that's what this album is about, that journey of uncovering self from all of that, all of our history, all of the beauty and all of the hardship as well. Yeah. And reshaping that narrative and reshaping the legacy of our families and of ourselves.
Yeah, I mean, do you know what? I think from the perspective of someone from the UK, it's only when I started studying American history when I was at university that I actually knew what a sharecropper was, even at that level. Because I think a lot of people, they think, okay, slavery is done and that's it. Where the sharecropping system was something that kept Black people, in systemic racism and poverty for way beyond when slavery was abolished. So going through, and like you said, your journey and stuff, how easy was it to construct some of the lyrics and really break down this tape to get to where we're at now with 15 tracks?
Yeah. Wait, 15 or 14? Yeah, 15.
Yeah.
I have to confirm that. I got a lot of albums. It wasn't easy at all. It wasn't easy at all. I think that's part of that artist's journey, when you're exposing yourself and being vulnerable about things that are so deeply personal and intimate. Yeah. Especially within hip hop, where it's really about how dope I am and I'm dope in this and I can do that too. Yeah, I can do that too. I can posture and all of that, but it really takes a lot of courage and strength to be able to talk about the things that we're told to keep hidden, because of, protecting self, and also protecting the world from, things that are private or things that can make you a target or vulnerable, or, what I mean? Digging through that and re-experiencing some of those emotions was quite challenging, but that's the art of it. That's the heart of it,
Mm-hmm. Do you know what I think? What I liked about the tape is, you uncovering a lot of that stuff, and I don't know. Obviously, I'm listening from it from just a listener's perspective, not I'm you. Do you know what I mean? But what I like is it feels like you're kind of just being open with the world, but just through yourself. You're not really, you're kind of looking for questions and answers, and, you know, answering a lot of people's questions as well. Like, you know, when you're speaking about a lot of the self-harm stuff in the latter side of the album, you're speaking about the grandparents as well. And, you know, hearing stuff like that makes you think, okay, cool. Like, we're really unpackaging Sa-Roc as an artist here. And is that something that was in your mind that you wanted to do initially when you know, started writing this project as a whole?
It was, because I think that in art, in writing, it's always been served as sort of a healing vehicle for me, a sort of catharsis for me to write. And this album, after years of creating things that were a bit more metaphysical, a bit more abstract, you know, still with the themes of empowerment and, like, you know, knowing self and all of that, but just a little bit more, it was more metaphorical than, you know, really getting down to like the nitty gritty of what had happened, what my experience was.
Yeah.
I thought that it was important for me to introduce myself to the world with this new platform that I had with Rhymesayers, to let people really see what had led to my perspective and point of view and who I am, not only as a person, but as an artist.
Yeah.
And to let you see like what my intention is as I create, you know, as I, you know, remain visible, as I speak on my various platforms, who I am and what has helped to shape who I am and my point of view.
Yeah. I think that is definitely something that's important. And I think when you look at your journey, because you were kind of working with Soul Messiah, what, in 2002 times as well. So for a very long time now. And
So,
you've
say it one more time, I'm sorry.
You've been working since 2002.
2008.
2008, okay, cool. So with that and the development now, and obviously a lot of the former tapes were, you know, they had a lot of Egyptian symbology and stuff in there as well. I'm not even going to say, is it Nebuchadnezzar? I'm going to try and say it.
Yeah.
I was making sure I had to probably rehearse that a couple of times before I said it, because I wasn't going to get that wrong. But like even stuff like the Gift of the Magi and all the imagery. So obviously we've kind of taken a different direction now. So what, apart from, you know, obviously Rhymesayers, and this is a new chapter and you're showing people what you're about, and it's almost to a great audience, almost an introduction into who you are. But why did you decide to kind of leave some of that stuff behind? Or is that so interweaved that it went over my head when I listened to this tape?
No, it's just, and I wouldn't say that I left it behind. I think that on this album, I really wanted to ground myself, and I really wanted to connect with those folks who maybe weren't, you know, they weren't there yet, you know what I mean? And they didn't have an understanding of, you know, this Egyptian and Mesopotamian and Sumerian, you know, culture, history, imagery, West African, you know, culture, history, imagery, spirituality, all of that stuff. And that, while that's still a part of me, in a lot of my one-off songs and stuff like that, I'll mention and reference those things. For this album, I really wanted to connect to people on the most
raw level.
Yeah, raw, intimate, kind of comprehensive level. So that even if you don't have the time to like Google some stuff or look up, you know, you know, what, you know, Babylon actually is, like what, you know what I'm saying, like what Nebuchadnezzar really represents and how it ties into the Matrix and all of that, just all of that stuff. Here it is raw and uncut, because everybody can relate to themes of forever.
I hear
and
that.
That may not be able to relate to the themes of Nebuchadnezzar.
Yeah.
So we're working our way back up.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. So you've got what? So you've got other albums and stuff in the stash that basically reflect some of that stuff, or you know what you should, I think you should do as well in the long run, is maybe set up some documentaries or something where you unpackage that.
That's a dope idea. I mean, we definitely have a lot of ideas in the works in terms of different media, in which we can like showcase the process and just talk about like the underlying themes of things like that.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I mean, there's just like so many aspects of our being, from spiritual, you know, physical to mental. There's so many things to address and so many ways to do that. So I think that in order to not distract from the underlying theme of this album, I wanted to keep it as, you know, on the level.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So for people who are waiting for this album, for your fans that are excited and, you know, heavily invested in, you know, Sa-Roc, what are some of the things that they should be looking out for? Because I know there's an Alicia Keys sample in one of the tracks. That song was big. I don't want to give away too many of the features. I don't know how much information you've put out personally, but
we released all the feet. You can.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Black Thought was crazy on it then. Like, there's a lot of stuff on there that, you know, leaves you, even though you're not saying you want people to, you know, it's Google and go on Reader's Digest, Encyclopedia and do a madness. There is still a lot of interesting things to break down. So what are some of the main key themes that you want people to hear and listen to and engage with post once the album comes out? I know we're saying it's way early, but, you know, yeah.
Right. I mean, it's really that our story is an evolving journey.
Yeah.
You know, and it can start from places of just immense depth and darkness and but it as we start to unpack and uncover these things and see and find our place within our story, then we start to gain like an empowerment and a sense of value and a sense of worth, and understanding that your story is as important as the next man's, and not ever letting someone
undermine you,
undermine you, define that for you, speak, you know, your truth. Because I think the timing of this album in particular is so relevant, because we're discussing things that, you know, as we saw with, you know, the whole world being in an uproar about what happened with George Floyd.
Yeah.
You know, it's echoes of what happened with Emmett Till and what happened with, you know, Fred Hampton and what happened with, you know, so on and so forth. You know, so many names. And that's what this album really speaks to. You know, the seeming divergence of my father and Myles like upbringing, but still, you know, a generation later, still having to deal with, you know, the fallout of being Black and having this experience in America, but like so many other people in other places and within the diaspora can connect to it as well. But just really the ultimate theme is being able to dig deeply within yourself, within your history, within your familial legacy. And out of that, pull out of that trauma, grow out of that trauma into triumph. And so if you notice the progression of the album, it starts to get, the energy starts to raise, and there's more clarity, and there's a stronger understanding of what freedom really is and how that, you know, manifests, and how I play a big role in my own liberation.
I think it definitely becomes very more militant and driven as you go past maybe like track 9, 10. And I like that, because you need progression. And I think what I like about the album is, like you said, there's so many linear narratives that go on generationally as well as sonically, that by the time you get to the end, you're going to go back to track 1 and run that again. You know, that's the power of the tape in itself. But I mean, going through this conversation right now, what's come up quite a bit is spirituality. And how important is that in the writing process for you? Because do you see something that happens instantly? So say, for example, with the news about Jacob Blake that happened, in the last couple of days, right? You see something like that, and then you hit the studio, or you find your space where you start writing, or do you let you process your thoughts a little bit and then put pen to paper, or, you know, start?
It really depends on the space that I'm in, honestly. You know, I've found that lately I've started to have to take a beat to be able to process, you know, and then think about how I want to approach telling a story or writing from my perspective.
Yeah.
But it depends. Like, there was a couple of times where Troy Davis, a guy who was a brother who was executed here in Georgia, after right when he was executed, I wrote that song. When Trayvon Martin, it took me was killed, it took me a couple of moments to write Rain and Sunshine after that, Sandra Bland, it took me some moments to like deal with my pain around the what happened, the tragedy, before I could be like, okay, how do I want to approach this? How can I be respectful of this situation, but also air out my grievances, my pain, my anger?
Yeah.
So it just really depends.
Okay.
And then and speaking of like spirituality, honestly, I feel like, I have a whole bunch of ancestors in the universe, like just kind of pushing me. And sometimes, I don't feel that because I need to like process my own stuff. I need to like, really kind of work through my own emotional investment in it, because a lot of times we especially in social media, we feel like we have to respond to something, we have to react to something right then. Yeah. We're like automatons, and we don't allow ourselves to actually go through the grieving process and go through, the experience of like understanding what this actually means to our life. It's not just like a news story. This is really someone's life that has been taken, or something that there's all these little
nuances.
Yeah, well, not even nuance. It's that, but these traumas that we experience on a daily basis, and because we're so used to experiencing them, we're constantly on the move, like just reacting. Yeah. Until we're having breakdowns, or until it manifests into something else within our lives emotionally. Yeah. Like we have to take that, and that's the whole point with one of my songs, Deliverance, on the album. Like creating that stress-free zone, like creating spaces of joy, because we almost feel guilty to have moments of joy and moments of peace and moments where we can actually
be free on ourselves.
Spaces and have and love ourselves and revel in our beauty outside of the world that seeks to constantly traumatize us. So it's just all of that, a lot of stuff, a lot of like a lot of processing, a lot of healing. The album the themes are recurring of that.
I think what I like is it's quite complex, and it's a conscious rap album that will go over a lot of people's heads when they first listen to it, but will make people go back and really want to break it down more and kind of be on this level, because I'm learning things as I'm talking to you as well, and I'm sure your fans and other people will at the same time. But I want to talk about something real quick as well, that I'd like in this space of female rappers right about now, Rhapsody, someone who you've interacted with and been on the road with before, like where do you see yourself in that female rap landscape? Do you want to even be considered, I know it's going to sound weird, but do you want to be considered a female rapper, or would you just like the term rapper and that's it? You know what I'm trying to say?
I agree with what you're saying. Like, I think it's pretty obvious that I'm a woman. Yeah. So I don't think that needs to be, reiterated. It's a bit redundant, I feel like. And we don't go around saying male MCs. I think that by saying female MCs, that continues to marginalize us within the genre. Yeah. And it even manifests in the way that we're talked about within the rap conversation. We can only be as good as a woman, or it's like, she's the best female MC, but we're not even allowed into the conversation of, the gym pop, if you will. So, I mean, I don't mind it. I mean, I speak from the perspective of women. So, but I think that when it's used to, like, in a sense, tokenize my voice, I don't like it, or the whole femc thing. I'm not really a fan of. I mean, when your intention is not to insult, then it's fine, but I just think that a person with a perspective just like anybody else.
Yeah.
I'm a person with a story to tell just like anybody else. And I'm a master of my craft, just like the best of MCs, male or female.
Yeah.
And that's what we need to be talking about. You know
Listen,
what I mean?
I'm not gonna lie to you. You're one of the most interesting MCs that have come out for a while, and you're doing better. Even if we're not breaking it down, we're not trying to make this a gender thing. I'm just gonna say you're better than some of the male rappers out there, right? You know what I mean? So you're doing your thing, and that's what I love to see. But I'm gonna leave it there because I know we've got a busy schedule for you today. So, is there any last messages you want to say to the people who are watching and listening to this right about now?
I honestly want to say just really, when you listen to the album, really think about it in terms of my story, but also turn the lens onto yourself and really dig deep, you know, and find those treasures within yourself, because they're, even in a life or a story that's fraught with, you know, tragedy or sorrow or things that we want to forget, there's value, you know, and those things don't diminish who we are and the potential that we have and the power that we have. And that's my messaging. That's what I've been consistent in conveying. And I just want to make sure that, you know, we're understanding that and we are pouring into ourselves with all the love that we can give.
Okay, there we go. You can hear the doorbell going off in the background as well, so we know that you've got to jump off. But I appreciate your time today. Thank you for chatting to me.
Thank you so much. I enjoyed the conversation.
No worries, I did too. So yeah, make sure you go and get the album when it does come out in October, right?
October 2nd.
There you go.
On all streaming platforms, you can go to SaRocTheMC.com to pre-order.
There you go. You heard the information. Make sure you go do the thing. That's it. Sa-Roc, appreciate you.
Appreciate you. Peace and love.